Monday Night Football is here, and we've got two games on the slate for Monday, September 18, 2023. And guess what? I've got three best bets in these games today, so you don't want to miss it. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living, back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays today as we just try to get some money together and get to the bag. On Friday, we did have our losing day as we did not cash in on a few of our plays. We did cash in on our college football play, though. Football's been good to us. Maryland over 30.5 points, no sweat bet there, but we did lose on the Astros Royals over 10 runs, and then the Yankees and Pirates NRFI there. So you hate to see it. 1-2 on the day, but you can see our year-to-date record right here. We're still crushing it, killing it in the month of September. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going. I hope you guys had a great weekend betting college football and NFL. I know I did. Tough loss at the end of the day with the Patriots late night, but listen, we're going to bounce back today because we've got two Monday Night Football games, and trust me, we don't get two Monday night games often, so I'm going to take advantage of that today. If you can, drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, so this way you guys can stay up to date on all the latest videos. Now, let's get into it. For my first best bet of the day, I'm going to go to look at the first game of the night, and we have the Saints versus the Panthers in an NFC South divisional showdown. And truthfully, I wasn't impressed with either of these teams in their first game of the year. Now, I'm going to give some credit to the Saints. They did pull out the victory against Tennessee late, and then when you're able to win games, even if it wasn't nice and pretty and it was ugly, hey, a win is a win, so I got to give you credit there. But the Panthers, well, I mean, listen, they looked like a team that had a rookie quarterback and a first-year head coach, as they're certainly going to have some learning pains this year. So even though I think this is a very winnable game for the Panthers in this matchup against the Saints, although I'm not confident enough to take them on the side, I do think that they're good enough to put up a good fight and keep this one close. I mean, we saw that yesterday in the Cardinals game, right? Like, they got out to a hot start against the Giants. Yeah, they didn't get the deal sealed, all the way and didn't close the game, but you guys are going to see that sometimes this year. And even the worst teams, you got to keep that in mind, right? As a sports bettor, or as a handicapper, like, you're going to run into certain teams sometimes. Like, they're going to be bad, but they're going to win a few games here and there. And I think teams like the Texans, teams like the Panthers, they're going to be right there. And when you have a divisional foe at home, you never know what can happen. And I think this is one of those matchups today where the Panthers can sneak one out. And if they are going to sneak a win, then that means that they're going to have to depend on this one guy, and that is Miles Sanders. And in their last game, don't let that score fool you. That 24-10 score loss to the Falcons, that game was a lot closer than that score really predicts and shows, as that game was close for about 3.5 quarters. And really, Falcons scored a touchdown in the beginning of the fourth quarter and one late in the fourth quarter to really pull away. But besides that, it was a one-possession game. But this is the biggest thing that I see when I look at that box score. Bryce Young threw the ball 38 times. And now you're telling me that you're going to try to win games in the NFL throwing the ball 38 times with the rookie quarterback consistently with not an elite wide receiver core? Yeah, that's not going to happen. So because of that, you got to feed him here, and you got to feed him all year, truthfully. So that's why I'm taking Miles Sanders over 14.5 rushing attempts as my first best bet of the day. Now, last week he had a good week, 18 carries for 72 yards. I think he can build on that performance here today. And like I said, 14.5 carries or 15 carries that we need for him, that's not too bad. The Titans didn't really test New Orleans' run defense last week as much as they really should have. Henry still got 15 carries in that matchup for 63 yards. And I think Miles Sanders is just a very good back. I mean, as an Eagle fan, I mean, I've spent the last several years watching him. I think he fits right in and well with this system that the Panthers are trying to build. He's a very versatile back. He's kind of the back that Frank Reach really fits into his offense well. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, so it can help alleviate some pressure there from Bryce Young, and he can also make some people miss in the open field as well. So a lot of different capabilities that Miles Sanders has, and because of that, I think that he's going to continue to get the ball fed to him. It's the beginning of the year, so we don't have really a ton of data to go off of, so I can't give you all these stats like he went over in 5 of the last 6 games, all these things. He's under a new coach, new offense, so you're going to figure it out just like I'm going to figure it out, right? But there are a few trends that I'm paying attention to that's going to really got me confident in this pick. Not only did he go over last game, right? The total has also gone down from 43 to 39.5, so that means that a lot of people are looking at the under in this matchup. That means a lot of money's coming in on the under, so that means that you're expecting, and a low total of 39.5 tells you that this one's going to be more of a defensive battle. If it's more defensive battle and the spread is low, like I said, it's right in between the numbers around 3, that means that they expect this to be a field goal game, which means the run game is going to be present, and Miles Sanders is that guy who's going to be in the mix right there, right? But another thing that I took a note of, right? I looked back at some historical data, right? In 2020 and 2021, when the Colts went to the playoffs, and that's also the year that Jonathan Taylor had his all-pro season, the Colts were 9th and 5th in percentage of run plays in the league. So you're probably saying, like, no, but why does that matter, right? Because those are the year that Frank Reich was the head coach of the Colts, and he also had a good quarterback in Carson Wentz, and he still was willing to run the ball and establish the run game. So that means he's probably going to look to do something very similar here in Carolina, which I really like. They paid Miles Sanders big money for him to be here. You've got a rookie quarterback, like I said, that you cannot depend to throw the ball 38, 40 times a game if you really expect to be competitive. So I expect the Panthers to get in a close game in this matchup, establish the run. So give me Miles Sanders over 14.5 rushing attempts. And even if he doesn't go over, because like I said, I think Frank Reich is really going to try to get this offense moving in the right direction and get this run game established, you might want to take a look at Miles Sanders' attempts throughout the season as well. For my second best bet of the day, I'm going over to the second Monday Night Football matchup, and that's between the Browns and the Steelers. Another divisional matchup that can really go either way. After the first initial game last week, you're probably saying the Browns are going to run away with it, right? After they came out, completely handed their tail back to the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, I really don't know how to take that performance, if I'm going to be honest with you, because this is the thing, right? I bet on the Bengals yesterday, and I don't really know if the Browns really look that good or if the Bengals are just looking that bad right now. Like, I mean, the Bengals just don't look good. They don't really have it all figured out. But one thing is for certain, the Steelers have to play better from the jump, off rip. Last week's 30-7 thrashing against the Niners cannot happen again, and it really came out of nowhere as they got down really early. They were down 20-0 to start the game, which really forced Pittsburgh to start playing in an unusual style, unbalanced offense. They had to throw the ball a lot. Very similar to my analysis with the Panthers. I don't think this is going to be sustainable for the Steelers team, especially if they're going to try to be competitive, relying on Kenny Pickett to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. Yes, he shows flashes of brilliance, and he does show good stuff here and there, but he's just not all around that polished quarterback just yet, and as a result, the Steelers have to establish a run game. And if they're going to establish a run game, then they're going to have to do it from the start of the game and not get blown out from early, and I think Najee Harris is exactly the guy to do that. So because of that, I'm going to take Najee Harris's rushing attempts over 52.5 as my second best bet of the day. Odds about -115 there, standard across the book. You can't beat that. Now, last week, Najee Harris only had 6 carries for 31 yards, so he went under. That's not bad yards per carry numbers right there. 5.2 yards per carry. I love to see that. Like I mentioned, when you go down 20-0, you kind of force your hand as an offense to really only do one thing, which is fall back into a shotgun and throw the ball. You got to move the ball quickly. You got to try to make up scores fast, and running the ball is not the way to do that. But in this matchup against the Browns, I think this one's going to be a lot closer and a lot more competitive. And last year against the Browns, Najee Harris had a great game. 80 yards rushing on 23 attempts, 56 yards rushing on 15 attempts. So he went over in both of those games. And then against divisional opponents, he had 111 yards against the Ravens, 90 yards against the Bengals. So he knows how important these divisional matchups are, and he steps up and he plays well in them. So I really feel confident backing him to get rushing yards in this game. Low total, like I said, at 53.5. You may want to take a look at his attempts as well, over 13.5, as I do think he's going to get the touches. The key is just for the Steelers to keep this game close, and I feel like they have to after that performance last week, and they're playing at home. The under in this one has already moved from 46 all the way down to 38. So again, sharp money's coming in on the under. That means that this one's supposed to be a close game. The spread is in between the threes. Again, it's going to be a defensive battle, and that means the run game has the ability to be established in this one. So because of that, I like Najee Harris to really bounce back in the performance today. Kenny Pickett, he shouldn't be throwing the ball as much in this matchup, as this one should be close from the onset. So give me Najee Harris over 53 rushing yards as my second best bet of the day. Now for my third and final best bet, I know I gave you two angles that really support running the ball, so I got to get the QBs involved in, right? A little bit. I know you guys love the QBs, and I don't really trust either of these QBs right now, and really under the props that are out on them, I have to do a little bit more research on it. Maybe I might have one by game time. If you want that pick, make sure you click the link in the bio for my Telegram group where I drop my other picks I'm taking a look at or that I researched later on in the day. But one line that's really got my attention, or I should say two quarterbacks that's really got my attention, and I think that is going to be thrusted into the position of making plays, is going to be Derek Carr and Kenny Pickett. I really don't want to bet on Bryce Young, and I really don't want to bet on Deshaun Watson, in all honesty. I think Derek Carr and Kenny Pickett are the two guys that are a little bit more predictable to bet on, and as a result, if they have to get to throwing the ball, then I'm going to go to their number one targets, the number one receivers. Chris Olave to get 5 receptions, George Pickens to get 3 receptions. If you parlay those two together, you get to about -125 odds there. Really can't beat that. I think both of these guys guys should be able to get these receptions today because they're the number one target for their respective quarterbacks. Chris Olave is quickly becoming Derek Carr's new favorite guy. He's his new Devontae Adams, as in game 1 last week, they racked up 8 receptions together for over 100 yards receiving. You love to see that. And Pickens is Pickett's guy, and rightfully so. I mean, look at the hands that George Pickens has. I mean, he can literally grab anything out of the air. Super acrobatic performer, and he's just a great overall wide receiver. And these are two guys that they know they can depend on to make receptions and to get catches. But another thing that I love about these two guys, especially when it comes down to receptions over just like yards, is that the offense tries a lot to do creative ways to get them involved. This can happen in screen passes, this could happen in jet sweeps, this can happen in quick little slant routes, and because of that, sometimes you might only get 1 or 2 yards on those screen passes or 1 or 2 yards on those slant routes, but they still count towards the receptions because they want to get these guys out in space, so this way they can use their shiftiness, they can use their speed. So that's another reason why I really lean towards the receptions, is that these play callers tried purposely to get these type of players in space. And then these are also two quarterbacks who lock in on their star receivers and have their tendencies. And I think that Chris Olave, like I said, is the guy that Derek Carr is going to lock in on this year, while George Pickens is going to be the guy that Kenny Pickett locks in on this year. So because that, these are two guys who should establish themselves today to grab some footballs. So because of that, let's go Chris Olave 5 receptions, George Pickens 3 receptions, parlay them together to get to minus 125 odds as my third and final best bet of the day. That's it, my friends. 3 bets, 3 winners that are headed your way. Monday Night Football, we're going to sweep the board, start this week off strong, keep the momentum going in the month of September. Wasn't our best weekend, but we still made money, so as that's all we're looking for. Continue to build on the momentum, and as always, I can't wait to see some of the picks that you're taking, so make sure you drop a comment below, and let's continue to heat up. Let's continue to make that money, and as always, dictate your fate. I'll see y'all tomorrow for more MLB plays as we continue to get into it. Later, y'all.